everybody. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. He's Myron Fancher. How the heck are you, buddy?
Overstimulated. I mean, so much wrestling. Some of it I was happy about. Other things I weren't happy about. I just got a message. Nia Jax is on the NXT tonight. So let's record this on Tuesday. So that'll give me something to watch on Wednesday night. Been trying to catch up, though. All that wrestling for SummerSlam. What did you think about that?
Dude, there was a ton of wrestling over the weekend. Obviously for us with the indie shows and SummerSlam 2 nights, and we went to multiple shows over the weekend. Yeah. And then, like I said, with Raw last night, I mean, it was just think about that. SummerSlam essentially started. The pre-shows were at 3:00 Eastern time, and 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in that ballpark. WWE gave you basically, well, I would say more, because they gave us the post-show stuff. The amount of content that came out was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But speaking of unbelievable amounts of content, Myron, check us out over on patreon.com/tappedoutpod, because there's always content, whether it's show notes at the $1 level. By the way, we throw a lot of free stuff in there as well at the free tiers. But that $1 level, you get those show notes. $5, you're getting extra. You're getting the shows early. $10, you're getting anything and everything, and digital collectibles. And the $25 levels, you're getting that physical 8.5 by 11. All of that included on the patreon.com/tappedoutpod, man.
Such a great deal.
Look, we're trying to be competitive with WWE, but I don't think anybody's competitive when it comes to the quantity.
No.
14, 15 hours, then 16 maybe when you had to post all of that junk in. It's crazy.
I am so disappointed, though, the way Peacock set it up when I was trying to watch Sunday night. There had my Peacock had a 2-hour window, because I had to start late because I still, we were Saturday we were at an indie show. So I got behind, tried to watch it Sunday. By the time I got started, I was behind, but I couldn't roll it back to the start of the program. I had to, I'd have a window from whenever it was live back 2 hours. And they were on to what? How long? They ran all night talking to people. They'll cut off Goldberg's speech, but they'll sit at a desk and talk the rest of the time.
And they did. Hey, let me ask you a question. You know what? I'm going to piggyback that question because it'll tie closer into another topic. Let's just say that. I'll ask you about the post press conference stuff or whatever. But obviously the big story the whole weekend was SummerSlam, loaded top to bottom. Land, let's go kind of night 1, night 2, just kind of make it easy. Obviously, main event night 1, CM Punk defeats Gunther, and really, I thought you could probably argue it was probably one of Punk's best matches.
It's a phenomenal match. I mean, Gunther could do a match with a broom, but I don't know if he's really injured and he's going to be out to whatever, because who knows now? They actually kayfabed us 2 nights in a row. Okay, they've dirt sheeted us. I came to you and told you, let me tell you about this rumor I heard that Brock Lesnar will never be back, because I read it. Got me. Somebody who watches wrestling nonstop. The Seth Rollins thing, you had the hint though. You figured that out. But did you get any inside information from Paul or something?
Nope, nothing out of the ordinary. But the Gunther thing is supposed to be his nose. I think he's having a surgery on his nose, so that is legit. But so is Seth's knee.
So when he went under the table, that was going to be his nose, not the fact he went up under the announce table to blade himself.
No, his legit, supposedly some type of a nose thing that he's got to get done, and that's kind of the reason he's going to be out for a little while. CM Punk, new World Heavyweight Champion, for literally a couple minutes.
As Paul Heyman said, not even long enough to change the side plates.
Correct. I saw a funny meme. I'm not going to butcher it because I literally can't remember all of the pieces of it. But they were like, how great of a champion Punk has been, in the sense that he never put on long, boring matches. He always was putting over younger talents. Every time he was winning, and it's like, yeah, he's right. He's not wrong. He is 100% right. But look, it was one of the things we discussed, and I think long term, I get it. A lot of folks didn't like it. There was a whole contingent of people out there that this just buries the whole Punk story, coming back, climbing to the mountaintop, becoming the champion, and they just snatched it out from under him. I just think it tells the great story that Seth Rollins will be his, if Punk is Batman, Seth Rollins is the Joker, in the sense that they're just going to be constantly.
It's perfect. Yeah. You put Heyman, the best talker, CM Punk's best friend, against Punk with his arm. You see, Paul has his little army. It's going to cause Punk to be friends with people, apparently. What if Punk now has friends? And it goes like that. It's a faction against. I just am so happy. I thought they did the exact right thing.
Post Raw, he did not look like he had friends, because then him and Roman were fighting, and Punk was. It was just a mess, chaotic mess, to say the least. But look, the story, I think, is what we will continue to say. Seth Rollins is CM Punk's foil, probably till the day one of them walk away from the company in some form or fashion. One major plus let's give props while we're not going to go down into this rabbit hole a ton, but tip your cap to Jelly Roll. Did a pretty good job overall. I think, a lot of people were surprised. He over-delivered. Let me put it that way. He over-delivered on my expectations.
Much past the capacity I thought he had. I think it did terrific. There was a little bit of overacting when he was doing his turn to come back to the ring. He was cutting it, man. He was kicking on all cylinders. He was, and I'm giving, Melissa's watching with me, and I'm giving her, he's going to do this next. And he just did it perfectly. I mean, like he'd been not just practicing wrestling, but practicing. He has been practicing performing for a long time. He was performing, and exactly. It was really interesting. And so when you sell me, that's one thing. But when you sell my wife, who does not like wrestling, you did a really good job. Yeah. I was real happy.
Also pretty happy. I thought Bliss and Flair did really well against Judgment Day, Perez and Rodriguez for the titles. Probably one of the standout matches of that night.
Yes, and one of the best thing the women have going right now. That's another thing Melissa said. She said Charlotte looks great. That outfit is terrific. She looks happy. She's glowing. Melissa hates Charlotte Flair, but she can see it now. She can see something different about Charlotte as a non-wrestling fan, and I believe there is something big different about her in this thing.
Actually, everything points to that it's something small, and it's Alexa Bliss. And I mean that like in a positive way. Charlotte did an interview, and basically was like, she was really lost. Like, she was ready to just kind of, maybe it was time to go away, and she literally I think I might be done. I don't know if I fit in anymore. And Alexa Bliss kind of grabbed her and pulled her to the side and was like, "You're Charlotte Flair." And just kind of revitalized her, just completely sucked her back in and has built her back up. Like, that's the kind of friend you want, that'll take somebody who goes from being like, I think I'm ready to just walk away from this, to being now like somebody who doesn't watch wrestling in the least is looking at her going like, she looks like she's having fun. She looks great, all of those things. And listen, maybe, and I'm going to ask this a question. Maybe that's what's been wrong with Charlotte for a while. And I don't mean necessarily her personal life. I'm not trying to dig into even just that, but just the pressures of being Ric Flair's daughter, being she's a 14-time women's champion.
Yeah.
Just the pressure of like, hey, it's funny. We're talking to Sal Renaro on this week's Tapped In, and it's like, sometimes like, this is fun. Like, you're allowed to have fun doing this.
Yes. Such a great match the other night. But Charlotte was booed every time she came out for a long time. She'd been through those rocky marriages, having a tough time being. I mean, it's got to. Even if you're not trying to be a heel and you get booed, it's probably harder than if you're really a heel and you get booed. It just seemed like to me the booing worked against her, and she just never got to where she was 4 horsewomen style that age, you know.
And hopefully maybe there's some to that. The happiness that she's kind of giving off is some of that is, look, we sound like an emotional show here in the sense of like we're an emotional support show. No, I mean but it's cool that she's just having fun, and even like the fans cheering her, like you said, for the longest time they didn't. Maybe that's kind of pushing her along the way as well. Roman and, Jay, of course, they defeat Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. I don't really think that's a prize.
It's okay. Okay.
It was what it was.
Seeing Roman, like you said, seeing Roman do the thing, that was funny. I like that.
Overall, night 1, I was concerned because night 1 was okay.
It was
I wasn't like, ooh, this is great, But then night 2 kicked up, but I know there's other stuff. Check out the notes, and we're not going to dive into everything. Night 2, I'm going to work backwards because I actually kind of want to end on that other note. But Naomi defeats Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Here's the pause button. Somebody was asking me about and I'll tell you how I'll get here. Somebody was asking me about how can Penta not be on this card? He's like a top guy. How is he not on SummerSlam? And it took a second for me to go, because a third of the card is women's matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were like, what? I'm like, 4 of the 12 matches are women's matches.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Bayley didn't make SummerSlam or WrestleMania. She was there last night, or for this night 2. They're getting a lot of women involved in this stuff. That pay-per-view, that Evolve pay-per-view, was a success for them. A lot of people paying it. It was a success. And
the Evolution
the Evolution, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. They want to watch this. More and more people are wanting to watch women's wrestling because they're putting on better products. We're not talking bra and panties.
Have you watched Unreal yet?
Not yet, no.
There's a moment Triple H is talking to somebody. I'm not going to spoil stuff or whatever. But he makes the comment that he's talking about the women's, the wrestlers and the division itself. And he's just like, they get it. And he goes, man, I'm telling you, down at NXT, there's a whole building full of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they pick it up. So he's telling somebody, the women down at NXT pick it up so much faster than the men for some reason.
Gymnastics training, and they're able to show emotion better than men. Don't you think that? I think the women convey emotion more authentically than the men do when they're acting.
Listen, I'm trying to figure out what it is, because he's right. Because think about it. The women's, if you took the women's roster and the men's roster and just look at the rate at which women come up and make it.
Yes.
Versus the men come up and they just beep, like a couple will, but they just and I think that he's like, the guys got to step up their game, because I'm telling you, you would not shock me to 1 year half of the matches are women's matches at a SummerSlam
or night 1
like that,
or night 2, something like that, where you get one day is all women, one day is all men. They've got enough talent. My God.
By the way, WWE, don't do that. Do it, split it where it was 3 and 3 on each night. I think tickets would sell accordingly. Yeah. We disagreed, but on the 6-pack TLC match, I was a big fan of it, just for the sheer car crash of it all. But I did agree with you, by the way. I think there was the other members of the teams that were getting involved was a little bit of
I like the car crashes. I counted 4 or 5 people that weren't in the match involved, or 6, now that I think about it, at least, that weren't in the match involved in the match, which I know it's not a regular rules match. It's tables, ladders, and chairs, but it's just odd seeing Candice LeRae run up the thing and now she took a great bump, but she's going to grab the belts and hand them to him. Does that count? Have somebody else? I mean, are we prepared for these rules? Have we worked on rules for stuff like this?
There are no rules. So there's that. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, progression. That's all we were going for was progression in the story. Clearly, Jimmy's helping Jacob. In the match, he looked great. By the way, in a loss, he got to show off all of his skills with the all of the moonsaults and the one off the cage and all the above.
But the thing was, Nick, this did nothing that they weren't already doing. They put him in a cage, but other people still interfered. Then they had the other thing. Then Jimmy comes down. You've got the chaos and stuff. And I wanted to see those two guys locked in a cage. Nobody else be able to get in. Don't you think? I like cage matches. You know,
that's what they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yes. When I saw that cage match Friday night up in Royston, those people weren't getting out of the cage. Nobody was coming in. Nobody was getting out. The problem was being solved. You solve problems in cages. But this is going to go on forever. This storyline, it's going to go on forever. The bloodline may not be the A storyline anymore, but it's going to go on forever.
Yeah, it's a different incarnation and it's a different, flow, but it's going to continue for sure. Intercontinental Championship match, AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio. Probably one of the best homage matches you're going to get.
Oh man!
Coming out in the lowrider, Eddie, the Styles Heat shirt. Dominic dressed in the colors of his dad in the 2005 SummerSlam match. Just the chair spot. Yep.
Oh,
Dominic untying the boot so it comes off. All stuff, like I said, really cool nods to Eddie and Ray back in 2005. But alas, Dominic Mysterio is still your Intercontinental Champion.
AJ's no telling how much time he's got left to work, but he's in this feud with Dominic, which is going to clearly they've got chemistry and they're going to be able to milk it forever. This was one of my favorite matches on the whole show. It definitely gave me the feels.
Yeah, it was super, super good. Then quite arguably look, WrestleMania, we got Cody Rhodes and John Cena, and I would venture to say most people, I won't speak for everybody, I feel like most people were disappointed in the finish of that match and the matches and the match as a whole. People were disappointed in. I did not feel that way at the end of this match. I thought this is the match we should have had at WrestleMania.
Yes. Seeing Cody just turking the turnbuckles off and using all these weapons and stuff, it was just so much violence for two guys who Friday night weren't that big enemies anymore. But it was a good match, and I enjoyed that match. But it seemed out of place until you got the end.
I think John has always been a guy who's willing to push the rules a little bit, even back in his Superman days. And I think that's what they pushed John to be in this scenario, and that it would take anything and everything for Cody to win. So I kind of let it pass, obviously, because it was the street fight rules. That's kind of the only reason I let it go. I'm glad Cody beat this version of John Cena, by the way. If he beats the heel, the cheating, and da-da-da-da, I get they're trying to do like the proverbial he's passing the torch. That kind of happened because we got that version of John.
Yeah. And also John was weakened down during the match. So you get that big. Michael Cole yelling, "Holy shit." Yeah. I don't know if I've ever heard him say that before. That was perfect.
So obviously Cody gives him his moment in the ring. Cena's kind of like soaking it up, the crowd smiling like, hey, he had laid it all out there, everybody. And Brock Lesnar's music hits, and the guy who's banned, the guy who's never coming back for a multitude of reasons, is back.
Were you happy you got work? Were you happy you got surprised?
This one's tricky. And what I mean by that is, yes, I am glad that I was surprised by anything. I'm so in the post-show press conference, this is kind of one I wanted to segue into some of that a little bit. So they didn't have them. They just sat out in front of the fans outside. They didn't have reporters. They didn't have people asking questions. And a lot of people are saying it was because they did not want to answer questions about Brock Lesnar. They just got to sit up. They got to say what they wanted to say. You know, they still had Cody show, you know, some wrestlers came out. Jay was hammered. You could tell again. And he, you know, said some stuff in front of the fans. And Triple H came out. And then when they asked about Brock's return, here's where some things are getting really dicey in my thing behind the scenes with WWE. He essentially, I feel like, passed the buck and was kind of like, when John was you know, like, we're going to let John write the last chapters of his book and let him pick opponents, and we're kind of letting him do. So you're like, so are you saying John asked for Brock Lesnar to come back? Not you guys. John wanted him back, and so you guys went out and got him. You still brought him back. So there is that.
It seems more WWE-ish than TKO-ish as far as decision goes, unless it's just a moneymaker. You know?
We're going to get into that in a second. Okay. I think that there is a piece of that. I want you to listen. This one's like landmine central, because on one hand, everybody's like, hey, he's done some horrible things and he's done this and he's done that or whatever. And I'm like, he's mentioned in the text, but even his people say, or the lawsuit people are saying he didn't actually do anything. But now you're also hearing stuff of like, oh, well, he did this in the past and he did this in the past and he did. And I'm like, I'm not disagreeing with you because I don't know if it's true or not, but it's everything that you hear that's the case. Here's where this is where it's going to happen. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how Dana White handles situations in the UFC. He gives you a big FU and says, if you don't like it, don't watch.
Yeah.
And they just power through and their audience watches anyway.
How did wrestling fans, I mean, this is weird, but how did wrestling fans become politically correct?
I don't know that they do.
I just don't like wrestling fans. Okay? That's on the whole. I don't like wrestling fans. People who are not happy when they get exactly what they really wanted. People who will never be happy with anything. People who complain about everything. Even when it's good. Okay? Rule the Brock Lesnar out of the whole situation. People were still complaining about stuff from that show. Was it perfect? Well, it wasn't WrestleMania. Some of it was lagging, but it was a great show.
Some people argued it was better than WrestleMania.
See, there you go.
We're not going to get political, but I do want to address it in a weird way. Forever, WWE did not do political stuff. They stayed out of all of that because they wanted to make sure they embraced all of the audience.
Exactly. That's smart business.
And in the last week or so, they've started catching a little flack. I mean, Hunter at the White House. You bring back Brock Lesnar. Like you do, you know, so then everybody's like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, man. WWE needs to watch. But on the other hand, they may go, here's the blunt truth. And this is, you don't have to like it, and I'm not defending it. The answer that you're being told is Brock didn't do anything illegal. There's nothing to convict him of because he didn't do any crime. You know, is he a bad person? Is he a scumbag? Maybe. I don't know.
We had this same conversation last week about Hogan.
Yeah.
Okay? And we've had this conversation about Vince, and we're having this conversation about these people. God, I can't wait till the next car ride to a show. That's usually when we hash these things out. It's in the car on the way to the show. This is a
So,
tough one.
Obviously the feud is Brock versus John Cena. And here's the thing. So if John Cena is the one who said, hey, I want Brock Lesnar back, is this on John?
Well, it's going to make him a pile of money. I mean, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
It's going to make a pile of money. And
at the end of the day, Myron, that's where we are with TKO. That's where we are to the point, like, look, we've had 2-night WrestleManias. We have our first 2-night SummerSlam. And, I mean, they hit a home run. Say what you will, it doesn't matter. This financially was a home run, and we're going to dive into that in the next segment.
Yeah, we're going to argue on whether it was successful or not later, but
no, it was successful. It was successful by all metrics. It was successful, but so successful to the point this conversation's come up that we want to address before we get into the financials. Now it's like, hey, if this works, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, probably Money in the Bank, why not make those 2 nights as well?
If they would possibly communicate with Todd Sexton about the dates, so we don't go out one of our favorite indie shows that always seems to get up in the pay-per-view type stuff. Yes, are they going to saturate Myron? 4 nights in a row of wrestling? Mixing an indie show in there somewhere where you're having to catch up? 5 nights in a row of wrestling.
Because you forgot NXT's the next night.
Am I going to start looking at it like it's my job? What's no big deal for WrestleMania? And okay, even but SummerSlam, it's still cool. But if they stretch it to every single pay-per-view, Nick?
No, I think they're talking the big 4 for sure. Survivor Series, Rumble, Mania, and SummerSlam. Money in the Bank, it kind of makes sense because then you would kind of do the same thing that you're doing with the Rumble where maybe one night the main event is the women's, the next night it's the men's or vice versa, whichever, and then you have like an undercard. Because I'll address it because we talked about it a second ago. Penta was not on a 2-night SummerSlam card.
Yeah, but his brother was.
He's in the TLC match.
Yeah.
So even with 2 nights, there were still people, Bailey, Penta, not on the card.
Nia Jax not on the card.
All of those things, like, here's to be responsible. If we're going to do 2 nights, give me 3 hours, 3.5 at the most per night. You know what I mean? Don't go 5-6 hours. WrestleMania, I get it as an exception, but the rest of them, there's no point in going. But we understand the concept of, especially like if you're not doing a stadium show, let's hypothetically say the problem is, I don't know that because Survivor Series is in a stadium this year. SummerSlam was, the Rumble was, Mania was, like Money in the Bank. Is it going to be in a stadium or is it going to be in an arena? Like if it's in an arena, and let's say same thing with Survivor Series, same thing, whatever, it's pretty simple, cut and dry because you're running Friday SmackDown, Saturday, Sunday run the show, Monday Raw, and if you're doing NXT there, that'd be 5 straight days, but generally they don't, so you're going to run 4. Literally not running Saturday or Sunday, that just means that you've got it set up and it's just sitting there empty.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They did that. They had the cage up night 1, ready to go. Is it that much more expensive to rent a stadium for 2 days than it is for 1 day?
Well, you're already renting it because it's there.
So you're renting it, so you don't have to check out until Monday.
Right.
You've already got your talent there, and you can sell twice as many tickets.
Because you got to remember, they were putting that thing together at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
So you're like almost like you're getting it for the whole week, yeah, to get set up and get tore down, run the event and everything. So it's kind of like, how much more could it really cost? Why not sell another 50-something thousand tickets and try to make, some of your money back? It's, from a financial standpoint, it only makes sense. without question, does not make any sense not to do it, especially if the business is hot and you're selling 50-something thousand seats per night.
But the tickets are too expensive.
Which leads us into the point of why. 113,722 was said attendance for SummerSlam. I'm not going to debate the number. It is what it is. It probably was closer to 100 if I had to guess.
That's 300 in Georgia wrestling numbers.
Yeah.
When you got, who knows how many showed up.
Yeah. You brought up the pricing of the tickets, and it comes back to a simple thing is question. Is a sellout a bad word now? Is a sellout a failure? Wait, Nick, are you telling me it's a bad thing if they sell out of tickets? Yeah, I think they do see it that way.
Is it business or is it being able to brag about a sellout? What's better business? Bragging or cashing checks?
That's the only concern, and we literally just talked about this a little bit in the prior segment. It's all about shareholders, profits. This isn't Vince McMahon running a wrestling company. This is a corporation running a business whose sole purpose is to maximize profits, period. So if you leave 2 empty seats in the front row, but you sell the other 90, I don't know how many are around ringside. I haven't, looked at their map, whatever. Let's say there's 75 around the ringside, and you're getting an extra $2,000 per seat over to whatever. Screw the 2 empty ones. We got, $2 extra grand for the other 80 whatever seats around the ring.
Well, you're probably gonna, if you don't sell them, you'll just cop them to a basketball player.
Or that's where the wife sit. That's where Jelly Roll's wife sits when he's wrestling, or when the next night Jelly Roll sat there and watched some of the show, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're just comp seats if they don't sell. But the problem is they're selling. It's really not that difficult.
So like indie wrestling, if you have a show that's just packing the house every night, and you increase the ticket price, but you don't get quite as, say you were drawing 200 people, and you go from $10 to $15, and you draw 150 people. What's the math on that, Mr. Math?
Well, I mean, you do the math. You're gonna get the 50% increase, but you're only dropping 25% in attendance. You're still making more in the long run, and so I agree. I don't think you're going to lose that much of a drastic fall off. That's what I've always listen. We're preaching to the choir, because I've had this conversation multiple times, multiple promotions, multiple promoters, multiple owners, you name it. I have said, listen, you are running out of chairs. You're turning people away at some venues. Your seats need to be more. Same exact principle. Like if your seats are 10 or 15 in the front, they need to be 15 or 20. Because if you lost 10% of your audience, but you jumped up in that, the price per ticket is that significant, you're going to be better off. And then everybody will filter into their comfort zone, and then you'll build that audience up, and you'll just slowly fill those seats, because there's just people that are like, oh man, it's sold out or whatever. I just think from a business, if tickets are selling out that fast, is there enough? Did you get the full value of that ticket out of it? Because a sellout that easily is too easy.
What turns more people away? A ticket price or not being able to get into the building physically because everyone is sold? You think about that.
Or running out of chairs or whatever. Yeah.
If you're going to come to a show and not be able to sit down, or come to a show and not be able to get in the door, would you pay more for the tickets?
I think from a business perspective, let's look at it this way. This is the business approach of it, what I would look at. If you're packing your building out and you're trying to figure out ways to be more profitable, raising the price is you're not having to sell a single other ticket. You're like, hey, let's just bump it up $5 and see what happens. What if, hypothetically, nobody thinks it's too high and everybody still comes? All 200 you talk about come.
But
$5 more per ticket, bam, there's an extra $1,000 just off of the top, and you didn't do anything new, anything different. You didn't increase a single expense. That's what WWE is essentially doing with those stadium shows. They're sitting there making a case for, we're going to push these prices up and not do a single new thing extra for the price of those tickets. And we're just going to find the breaking point. People, by the way, will let you know when they've hit the breaking point because they'll stop coming.
Yeah.
And then you back up a little bit and then get them to come back.
But will that negate scalpers? Will that negate people on Ticketmaster reselling stuff or flipping seats?
I mean, if it's not sold out, no. I don't think it'll ever stop because there's still going to be a person who just wants a specific seat. They want to sit in a specific section. And if all of those sold out, still goes back to the same answer. That probably means all those seats were still underpriced. I think, hypothetically, WWE's probably sitting there and seeing what tickets are going for on StubHub and things like that and go, well, why don't we just sell them for that if people are paying that for them?
So $1,000 seat, you turn around and some guy's flipping it for $1,800. They raise the price to $1,800. Well, people still, I mean, they're clearly willing to buy the seat for that much.
Yeah. So why don't you get the $1,500 versus, because then they're like, oh, you going to buy it for $1,500, try to flip it for $1,800? Good luck. WWE TKO got $1,500 instead of $1,000 for the ticket. That's not their problem. What you paid, what you get paid for.
When you sell those tickets on Ticketmaster back, I'm sure the people who put on the event see how many tickets are selling like that and what price it goes to. If Ticketmaster gives them
right,
the kind
that's
of
what I'm saying. They're checking and they're seeing what tickets are selling for. So if they can see that the tickets are selling for that, why don't go like, well, don't let the scalpers get the money. Why don't we get the money? And that's, you can find the breaking point. And I think absolutely without question, that's what their goal is to do because they want the margins. They don't want scalpers to get them. They want the margins.
Well, and like you said, they're not a wrestling company anymore.
Yeah. No.
That's different.
It's an entertainment company. And listen, I get it, folks. Everybody's like, what's the difference between $150 for a ticket and $175 a ticket? I'll tell you what it is. It's $25. Nick, that math's too simple. Yeah. But do that around the upper bowl of the arena. For all of those seats around that, do $25 extra. Now that's a whole lot of money.
Yeah. I can tell you about concession stand prices, though. I'm not that good with ticket sales. I can tell you who's got the cheapest hot dogs.
But that's kind of that's kind of how, they're going to make their money. And just as long as especially the premium stuff, hey, why don't we just have wrestlers sign stuff and we can charge an extra for, I think it was like one of the shows I looked at to go from the same seat, but if you did their platinum or whatever it was, the VIP, it was an extra, like, I want to say it was an extra $450 just to get in the back to get some autographs and meet a couple guys or something. I'm like, is that worth $450? It's like, I don't think so, but I'll just take the ones that don't have them. But anyway, and that again, maximizing every single dollar. So point being, in 2025, Vince was still running the company. He's probably happy, like, oh, we're selling out this build or whatever. TKO's like, nah, that's a problem, dude. We need to raise these prices. We need to get this fixed. So, anyway, look, big topic for the week. I wanted to get into this a little bit. We're not going to go like into the weeds so much. We're going to cover the top 10. So one of the reasons you should be a member on our Patreon, patreon.com/tappedoutpod for the show notes. We're going to go through John Cena's top 10 greatest opponents. It's probably going to surprise some people when we start off in lead with number 10 is The Rock. A lot of people would naturally, like, I think, my personal opinion. Now, here's the funny thing is, this feud is the reason I'm married. But
and you still put it on. You put it as top 10.
I think the feud itself completely overrated. When I think of John Cena's feuds, The Rock does not come up at the top of my list as guys that I think were some of his best feuds. I think it was probably one of the most high profiles. It was the once in a lifetime and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like,
Twice,
yeah. Once in a lifetime to happen twice. But I just feel like Rock at that point, and this is a long time ago, by the way, I already thought Rock had already checked out into Hollywood. And that's not an insult to Rock.
Like, we looked at back when they did Scorpion King, and that was forever ago. Yeah. Did this help? Was this a box office rivalry? Did this help get Cena started in the acting business?
I think 100%. This is what injected him into the mainstream and actually got him into where he's at now. And God bless him. It did a lot for his mainstream career. I agree, but for Nick's list of his favorite feuds and for John Cena, and by the way, we're on a roll talking about lists this week. This is like personal opinion list, so it is what it is. If you want to send your top 10 list, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. John Cena's his greatest opponents in your opinion. We encourage you to ship those in. Number 9, Triple H. Here's the funny thing is they had tremendous feuds, but same principle. Triple H was in a tier and a time where I just didn't put those two as the. Does that make any sense? What I'm trying to say? Like, he doesn't come to mind when I think of Triple H. I think Mick Foley, and Undertaker, Rock, etc.
It's all about game. How you play it. Sorry,
for some reason, it's not the generation before, or like the era before, but I just kind of the period of time. That's who I associate. I don't think of Cena in that same period. But obviously, he was kind of the old guard at that point and led in. So, but he still, like I said, it did help him kind of cement his legacy as far as John's in becoming like the man, by beating him and stuff. So I'll give him that, but it just was not the guy that I felt of as a feud. Number 8, Brock Lesnar. Here we are, folks. I guess this is why John wants him in there. It was post. You remember this is we recently talked about this when we talked about the main events.
Oh, God.
Lesnar essentially just beat his ass at SummerSlam years ago.
And John Cena thought it was a good idea. Remember?
Yeah. Maybe he wants a repeat. Who knows?
Or revenge. Maybe this whole thing is the revenge angle for this match.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
If you're not a fan of Lesnar coming back, maybe this is it. John Cena wants revenge, and he's going to book a match. He wants a match booked where he just throws Lesnar around and whoops his ass at a PLE. Would everybody be happy at that point?
Oh yeah, because you beat the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Batista, number 7, obviously came up together kind of in that OVW class. These two I see more in that same era, obviously, because they came up and they're forever going to be linked because of that being in that class. It wasn't a real long one, but it was two monster dudes, and it was kind of that, what I'm trying to say, like it's like two rookie quarterbacks in the league that come out the same year, and they're always playing, and they're always going to kind of be linked. Kurt Angle, number 6. Kurt Angle, why is he so important? He was the Ruthless Aggression promo. That's the John Cena comes storming down to the ring, makes it like this is literally John Cena was like a step away from being fired. And the interaction with Kurt Angle and then the eventual feud that, with Kurt Angle literally is what saved him in my opinion and brought him to the dance on full time.
And Kurt Angle, we forget. I mean, y'all had to see wrestling at this time or go back and watch to really understand how good Kurt Angle was.
Yeah.
I mean,
the crazy thing is when you hear people talk about Kurt Angle, you forget just like how natural he picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like literally just kind of like out of nowhere was like, Jesus, this kid got good fast. And he was young. He wasn't a kid, but super, super fast. Number 5, The Undertaker. Kind of his big feud when he became like heel Cena. It's kind of one of his early feuds. Kind of the same. I get it. I think it's always going to be because they had the earlier matches and you kind of put him on the map, but the ultimate level of credibility is awarded to you in WWE if you can eventually beat The Undertaker.
Yeah, that's like the brass ring, man. That's the ticket.
Number 4, AJ Styles.
This was a good one.
This is the whole face that runs the place. AJ and Cena. It was like basically, I think when AJ debuted, like this is the one we wanted, and it was because it was literally the sports entertainer guy. He was. Look, I want to say it. It's just what it is. Cena was that era's Hogan. Like he was the sports entertainment wrestler. AJ Styles had traveled the world. He'd been TNA, New Japan, etc., and was considered by many to be the best wrestler on the planet. And we were going to get to see a feud with those two.
Yeah.
And insanely enough, Cena showed he could actually get in there and wrestle with the best in the world. And that's just, And look, I feel like AJ benefited from this just as much as anybody, because it was a continuation of his growth into like the WWE storytelling, methods or tactic or whatever, that it brought him to the dance as well. Now we're getting into the top 3, Myron, and this is really
these are some hot ones.
Were tough. These are tough. I debated with a lot of people, and I always say number 3 it was Edge. I honestly feel like Edge to me. By the way, we're talking, this is almost like 1A, B, C here for me, because I can argue any of these to be the top one. Edge was made by John Cena, in my opinion. By this point, it was the spinner belt, but Edge, he was the Money in the Bank. He cashed in.
Well, he was a super
person. Yeah.
And now he wasn't. That's to me, I think this was the moment that defined Edge as himself, not just Edge and Christian.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. It wasn't just because a lot prior to this was a lot of mean, tough, strong heels.
Mm-hmm.
This was a guy who was sneaky. He was the ultimate opportunist or whatever. I can't remember what they called him at the time, but that was like, they played so well off of each other, and I feel like again the importance of the two of them had on each other's careers was massive. Only other person you could maybe argue that kind of can go right there neck and neck with that, Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Same as Batista. They're in that class at OVW. Listen, I will go on record, and I think I've said it, Randy Orton was probably the most naturally gifted wrestler that I had seen come into the ring. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, it was, in my personal opinion, this is where the old fogey comes out in me. Barry Windham was that guy before him that was just smooth, and it was effortless. They weren't having to try so hard. Brad Armstrong before that, exactly. But Randy still to this day, which is crazy. Randy's I don't know, you want to argue he's as good today. He's better today because he's not. Randy's another one that I think today, I look, the Charlotte Flair conversation of, does Randy just seem like he's having more fun now than he's ever had in his life?
Yeah. The Jelly Roll thing, too, was so good for him. He got to showcase more of his talents.
I think it's, listen, again, we sound like we're doing therapy here this week. Randy's happily married now.
Yeah.
He's just got, he's enjoying stuff. You see him on like social media with his kids and, the little things that, like, he just looks like he's having fun. Yeah. Like realizing, hey, this isn't going to last forever. I'm going to have some fun while this is wrapping up or whatever. But anyway, the whole point of that conversation was him and John Cena just back and forth. They essentially, for about a decade there, you could make the case that was the next guys. Like those were the two guys that you knew they were going to be the face of the company. So, Nick, if that's so good, like, who do you have at 1? CM Punk. I honestly, for some reason, somehow, I always, when you ask me who the feud that, like, epitomizes John Cena opponent, it's Punk. We talked about this briefly when they just kind of recently had their match not too long ago. It was at Backlash, right? My brain's like, I think it was Backlash.
It's late, dude.
Yeah, and it's late. We're recording late. But I mean, just I was happy to see that we're at least going to get another taste of it. The little thing in the promo, like you can tell they genuinely now like appreciate each other. But obviously, we got to see. We're talking back to like the pipe bomb and how that played out, and Cena, basically flips it completely to he essentially is cutting the pipe bomb when he put Punk through the table this time. Just a lot of the little callbacks, and it. Listen, I'm going to go out on a hot take here. I feel like, to me, and I know CM Punk was in Ring of Honor and TNA, and he was, on the Indies and all these other places. He was like, but I don't know that Punk's Punk if this rivalry doesn't happen.
This is why they chanted his name for years while he was gone. This is the anti-establishment Punk character. This is the pipe bomb character. This is the one people really thought was so cool. And I think it took Cena to make that. I really think it took Cena to make that with him.
Now, not for nothing, I also think it shot Cena through the roof as well. And that's kind of the cool thing is along the way, he consistently elevated himself because you get kind of corny and the big match John thing that JBL throws out. And we just saw it at SummerSlam, which I think probably is why we were so disappointed at Mania. We didn't get that guy. At the show of shows, we didn't get Big Match John. We got just some random, I'm going to cheat and this thing's going to weirdly happen.
Maybe that was all in the plan or not, or I don't even know what's going on with Cena booking right now.
I'm just glad we got what we got with Cody, and I get it. Everybody's like, oh, this was overbooked or whatever. Hey, if that was overbooked, I'm all in. I'm like, I'm all for it, and I enjoyed it. So that's our top 10. Hey, listen, we get it. You might disagree. You probably disagree. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Feel free to send your list in. And also continue to send your questions. Myron, we got about 7 minutes before we get out of here, and we've got some questions. So let's rapid fire get into some of these. We may not get them all, but we'll do our best, folks. Trevor from Augusta says, was Seth Rollins' fake injury angle genius storytelling, or did we see it coming from a mile away? If you stay off the dirt sheets, you don't see it coming a mile away necessarily.
Wouldn't see it coming anyway. If this was the 1980s or 90s, this would have been perfect. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree. We did call it, but it's again because the rumors kind of had been out there. But I mean, kudos to them for at least going through. But here's my thing, Myron. They went through the efforts to hide it.
Yeah.
Larry from Scranton, Pennsylvania, with all the hype around Jade Cargill, why did her match with Tiffany feel so flat? Is WWE already misusing her?
No. It was just a match. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes Jade Cargill struggles. I think Jade Cargill really needs chemistry with somebody to be able to perform at her best.
So there's this story just kind of out there. And again, here's the problem. We're in an era, by the way, any story you read about WWE now, you cannot believe for sure.
Nope.
You can believe it, but it might not be true. And we're learning that, in a good way, by the way. But there's a story that's out there that they've already lost faith in Jade Cargill, and that like, hey, we don't see her at a level that we thought she was in the beginning. Not saying she's not good, but just like, hey, she's not, Rhea Ripley. She's not, somebody that they see as the top person.
Rhea Ripley?
I get it. Again, if you're a big fan of Rhea Ripley, check out WWE Unreal. There's lots of cool stuff about her on there. I don't think anybody's being misused at this point. She may just not be ready for where you think she's ready to be at. I don't know. We're not there. We're not seeing what's going on, so I don't know. Javier from San Antonio. Do you think Brock Lesnar's return was planned all along? No, he showed up. Nobody asked him. He just showed up at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
He hit he hit the button for his music to hit. He walked out.
Yeah,
and
he brought his own music with him.
Yeah, he queued it up, his graphics, everything, the whole thing. Like, obviously, I mean, clearly, look, we was rested already a little bit. We're kidding, Javier. It's if Cena asked for it and they gave it to him, I mean, I don't know who you're supposed to be mad about. For anyway, Miles from Chattanooga, Cena turning heel for what, like 2 months? Did that story arc actually help Cody or just confuse everybody watching?
Yes, and
yes. Yes. You want to know what this was to me in hindsight? Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, dude. We made some bad Rock, Travis Scott, all bad calls at things that, couldn't deliver. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. Everybody wants to cheer him anyway. Let's just get to the next step. I don't like it, but that's what I think happened, in my opinion.
Yeah, they gave Cody his and whatever. I enjoyed whatever happened. I believed it while it was going on.
Yeah. Reggie from Cleveland, Ohio. Rollins cashing in the same night Punk won the title. Cheap Pete or perfect heat? I thought it was well done.
Cheap
I don't
Pete
think it was Cheap Pete.
Is heat.
Yeah, but I don't think it was Cheap Pete.
No, this was something big.
It was a swerve or whatever. Like, nobody saw it coming. I mean, whatever.
I like it.
Yeah, Dwayne from Little Rock, Arkansas. I love a good brawl, but how many weeks in a row can Raw end the exact same way before it stops being dramatic and it just kind of feels lazy? I have to agree with Dwayne here a little bit.
Yes, I do too, to a point. My point is, when you're trying to hype up a big match or a pay-per-view, you don't finish the matches on your TV shows. You have to make people want to see them. But when you do it on the night after a pay-per-view, and you probably will do it next week, it cheapens it, and it begins to look like, well, I'm not going to watch the end of Raw because it's just going to be some kind of bleh.
There were diminishing returns when the NWO just constantly jumped everybody week after week after week. It kind of lost a little bit of its luster there. James, Detroit, Michigan. I thought Gunther versus Punk was the best match of the year. What do you guys think? No. I'll let you go first. What do you think is WWE's best match of the year so far? That you've seen. Here's the problem. I don't know that we've seen every match from top to bottom, so, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue.
I'd say we've seen 95% of what WWE has put on this year. And it's hard to say what the best match is. This match was the right match at the time. This match was very captivating.
I don't think it was the best match of the weekend.
What was your best match?
Listen, I'm gonna lie to you. I actually preferred the Cody Cena match over Punk versus,
Yeah.
But hey, what do we always say, Myron?
I love Gunther's. It's your opinion.
It's just my opinion, dude. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't think so. I mean, you're just wrong.
The people that like that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing those people like.
Exactly. But things you should like, Myron, of course, is Patreon at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Man, just go sign up for an account. It's absolutely free, and you can still watch everything on there. Or you can get those paid levels. I went over all that earlier in the show. Show notes, early shows, digital collectibles, physical autographed copies of those exclusive collectibles you can only get here on patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Just do it. It's just that simple, man. Just go sign up. But look, we get it. Hey, you're probably watching. Some people just like looking at us, I hope. Maybe. And if you are watching us, we're on YouTube, tappedoutpod.com. Makes it pretty simple. I just had to renew that the other day. I got the notification that had to be renewed, so we could keep saying tappedoutpod.com as that goes straight to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the page, like the videos, watch the videos, turn the notifications on. Make sure you don't miss a thing, because now we're up to 3 episodes, call them what you will, per week coming out. Where it's tapped in, tapped out, it's the spotlight, on and on and on. and still got interviews. I still got to do an interview at some point this week. I won't name who it was, but somebody asked me like, hey, I really want to come on and do an interview. So I said, okay, cool. I want to ask here some things. And while I got Myron on the spot, I'm going to ask this on the air because I would love the people that listen and send your feedback, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I'm kind of like, is it time to restructure a little bit? Like like the shows and kind of how they work and, like the Tapped In show. What if it went more to conversation with wrestlers every week and the spotlight covered more of try to take in a deep dive? This week, though, there were only 4 shows we recapped. Oh, but there were 12 shows that are running this weekend that we covered, because we had all of their information. And by the way, I am fully aware. Tell me you don't listen to the show without telling me, or tell me you don't watch without telling me. When you tell me, like, I didn't forget your stuff. I'm like, no, I didn't forget your stuff. There's actually like 15 shows running this week, but 3 of them didn't get covered because I didn't get their stuff. And I went over all the information. It's real simple. It is pinned to the top of our pages, the Tapped Out Podcast Network. The recap sheet's there. And you could always go to mine. It's pinned on the top of that one as well. And you can always message me, and we'll get you covered. I just need to know what your show is and all that kind of information ahead of time by Monday, 5 p.m. That is the cutoff, Monday, 5 p.m., because I typically record bright and early on Tuesday mornings. So, but we would love to kind of suggestions, tips, ideas, things you like, things you don't like about the show. tappedoutpod@gmail.com.
Yes.
Well, man, we ran right there over the hour. You got anything else before we get out of here?
I wanted to give a big shout out to friend of the show, Robert Pages. He went from being a manager to a championship wrestler this weekend.
Rick?
Huh?
Rick Page?
Oh, hold on. Let me check my notes. Oh, yes, Rick Page. Friend of the show, Rick Page. Yes, him. He's got a belt. Bring some Gatorade next time, kid. You look like hell.
Well, man, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.